Westwood's Fall Town Meeting will be held on Monday, November 13th at 7:30 p.m. The meeting will be held in the auditorium at the Westwood High School. Here is what you need to know before showing up. The first article concerns the Blue Hills Technical Regional School District renovation project. This article is intended to present and request support for the Blue Hills Regional Technical School, an $85 million renovation project.
There are many safety improvements that will bring us into ADA and state compliance. Right now, we are not. We do not have a sprinkler system. A couple of places we need elevators, etc. And these are all included in the renovation. Along with all of these other general repairs, we need new doors, windows, entries to be installed, and energy efficient systems will be up in place to improve the whole environment of the school and for the kids.
The next article is about the Gay Street Sidewalk Design Funding. This article is intended to provide funding to the DPW to complete a full design for sidewalks along Gay Street, to allow for submission of the project to the state's Complete Streets program and/or any other funding program for construction funding. The next article is concerning the Arc of South Norfolk grant of easement for a permanent sidewalk across town land. This article is intended to approve grant of easement to the Arc of South Norfolk across town-owned land to permit the construction of a 5-foot wide sidewalk connecting the Arc property to the Mercer property to allow Arc clients access to raised garden beds, parking, and programming on the Mercer property.
So the buildings in the middle and the sidewalks right there. And right there is where they need the easement. If you'll notice, most of the sidewalk is on their property. However, on the south side of the building and right there where it crosses over into Norwood is where they need an easement.
The next article is intended to seek town meeting acceptance of Thompson Avenue as a public way.
The street has been constructed to the town standard. There were 4 items when it was on the planning board review just recently that the planning board needed to condition the roadway, their approval on. Those have all now been met.
The next article is intended to establish, in accordance with MGL Chapter 40, Section 5B, a special purpose meals tax account.
So this article would ask the town to establish an account to hold and reserve the meals and hotel tax revenue, direct the money coming in from those sources into that account, and then requires future town meeting vote in order to use the money.
So the meals and the hotel taxes will be put into this one account.
They would both be in the one account.
The next article is intended to accept MGO Chapter 40, Section 13E, which establishes a reserve fund to allow the school department to pay for unanticipated or under-budgeted costs of special education, out-of-district tuition, and/or transportation.
And this would ask the town to vote to accept under Mass General Laws Chapter 40, Section 13E, to establish a reserve fund to handle special education costs, to direct some Medicaid reimbursements that are received by the school district into the fund. And then this asks to appropriate some funds we currently have on hand into the account.
This next article is intended to add a definitive cap on the number of residential dwelling units which may be constructed by special permit within the Washington Street and High Street flexible multiple use overlay districts. The purpose of the article is to limit the total number of residential dwellings that could be approved by planning board special permits.
So the 90 number that I've recommended to the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board represents a fair estimate of what could actually be proposed for development right now in front of the Planning Board that would be considered realistic.
This article is intended to allow accessory uses such as cafeterias, snack bars, gift shops, and vending machines within buildings in the highway business zone, where such uses are currently prohibited. The Planning Board is sponsoring this article for Fall Town Meeting at the request of a property owner who is currently marketing available office spaces.
Up here on the map, this article would change to allow these uses such as cafeterias and the intended for employees to be allowed accessory use in the highway business zone, which is the areas around around Route 1 near the Glacier Drive, Wilson Way area.
This next article is intended to revise zoning bylaw provisions related to medical uses. The purpose of this article is to clarify distinctions among various types of medical uses and to specify where those uses may be permitted in town. The zoning bylaw presently references differing terms for medical uses, some of which are not clearly defined and some of which are not presently included in the use table. This article is intended to make necessary amendments to various sections of zoning bylaw and our zoning maps to correct any errors or inconsistencies which may be discovered during the public hearing process. This next article is intended to save the town the cost of opening town offices on a holiday or weekend to hold voter registration sessions, acceptance of nominational papers, and so on. This article is intended to waive the annual dog license fee for any person 70 years of age or older upon proof of age for one dog per household per year. This next article is intended to see if the town will vote to rescind the vote taken on Article 29 at the annual town meeting on May 2nd, 2016, or to take any other action thereon.
Those 4 articles were all, as zoning articles, required to be passed by a 2/3 majority in order to take effect. None of them passed the 2/3 threshold, but all of them passed the 50% threshold, which meant that nothing was reversed, nothing was changed. But what was evident by surpassing the 50% threshold on all of those articles was that the residents of the town of Westwood are at odds with what the selectmen and the planning board seem to be wanting us to do. We need to resolve that tension, and we need to resolve that difference.
The next article is intended to see if the town will vote to amend Westwood Town Bylaw 138-15D concerning citizen petitions.
So this article here is to take the means of indefinite postponement not away from the citizens petition, but to allow the citizens to make the first motion on an article.
The next article is intended to see if the town will vote to raise, appropriate, and transfer from any available funds in the Treasury the sum of $20,000 to purchase an electronic voting system for use at town meeting.
For 200 units, it would be just about $10,020. Cost breakdown approximately $50 per unit. That includes the the response cards, the licenses to use them, the receivers and cases, and that's the complete system. It breaks down to about $50 per individual. If you up to 350 units, it's just under $17,000. That drops the price to about $48 per unit.
The next article is to see if the town will vote to amend Westwood Town Bylaw 138-17 and replace language that makes electronic voting the primary voting method for town meeting.
The other town clerks that I've spoken with in other towns that have used it, they do feel it has expedited their voting process. It can drastically cut down the length of town meeting, depending on debate, but some of these standing votes can take a good 10-15 minutes to count. This would trim those down to a couple of minutes per vote.
You do need a quorum of 175 people, and town meeting is your democracy. This is how we rule and govern our town. So please, everybody, make an effort to attend town meeting so that you can have a say in the important issues that govern our town.